You can do everything you want, just not all at once. And then that's probably the biggest thing that has just changed my world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mango Talk Season 2. We have Lauren with us from Impact School. She's done a bunch of brilliant things. And on this podcast, we'll be talking about content, community, and monetization for creators. And Lauren's been one of the experts there, and she consults a lot of businesses in terms of how they can expand their respective businesses to reach out and improve success for their clients. Lauren, I'd love for you to introduce your own self so that you can do the maximum justice to it. And I'd love to know your story to begin with before we dive deep into talking about insights and secrets that you particularly can share on this podcast.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks so much for having me. I got connected with you guys when I met Mohammed at an event in Dubai, because that's where I live. I'm from the UK, but he obviously knows Anchor because of the fact that, they've invested in your guys' company. And so immediately we just got talking because I've known Anchor for years. Like, he literally knew me since I had nothing.
Oh,
and
really?
Him and his team really, really helped me when I was very first beginning. And it was such a full circle moment for me because with Anchor's new company, I was just one of the very first seed investors in that. And so that was just a really cool moment. So that's how we connected, because I saw what you guys were doing and I just thought it was so fantastic, because I understand the online course creation space, having been doing this now for, properly for like 6 years, but not properly for like 8 years now. So I love what you're doing. Just a little background, I guess, that might give some context. So in the last 8 years, I finally managed to scale my business to 10 million per year. And that's in cash collected, right? Not in like revenue as people kind of go off of. And so it's been a wild ride because I literally started out as a creator, right? I started out in doing fitness content and I never really even planned to monetize it. It wasn't really a thing back then to do that. And it's just been amazing to see the opportunities now that are so accessible for so many people. Even if you only have a small audience, like some of our clients at Impact School have less than 1,000 on social media and they are making hundreds and thousands or even millions per year because they're focused on selling the right way. And so it's just a cool industry, a cool like-minded community where everybody wants to help other people. And if you are just there to only make money and just make sales and that's it, you aren't gonna last in the space because people can see the passion when you speak, right? And so that's what I love about it. So I don't know how in depth you want me to go, but that's kind of just a brief background, I guess, how I got started and then also how we connected.
No, that's awesome. I didn't actually know that backstory because we've been setting up these podcasts with different creators. You met with Ankur. I was actually in New York just a month ago. I was staying at Ankur's place for like a couple of weeks. So
I love that guy.
Sure.
And now I'm in Oman, which is where he's from.
Oh
So
yeah,
he
you're in
gave me
Oman, which is where,
recommendations.
of
Yeah,
course, of
he's
course.
so cool. Yeah, what he's done is so amazing though. Like, I feel like he's one of the people that have really helped in building this industry, right? And like now you guys are working to spread it. I'm working to spread it and help people who already have something going on. Like my focus is on helping those ones scale up and build like a real company. So it's super rewarding, and it's not just the lives that we get to impact of like ad direct clients or users, right? But it's also the lives of their clients and their customers, right? Because that's what it's all about. Like if they don't have the platform, if they don't have the tools, if they don't have the systems, the strategies, then going to be able to get clients or customers or buyers. And then that means that those people don't get the help. So I just love the ripple effect of the industry. And that's really kind of how I shifted into this rather than just staying in the lane of fitness, which was my main focus in the beginning, because me and all my friends in fitness used to just constantly try and work with brands, right? So we would try to like work with this brand and that brand. And I was doing photo shoots with like Reebok, and Gymshark was paying me every month. And then when they stopped all of that, because the whole industry shifted, whereby like niche influencers weren't such a focus for the bigger companies anymore. They started working with bigger, more famous, like quote unquote celebrity influencers. Then I started helping my friends with like what I was doing with my fitness coaching company. And they started launching challenges, these fitness challenges, and then on the back of that selling a course or a program. And some of these guys made tens and tens of thousands in their first launch in US dollar because they had millions of followers. So it was just cool. And like for a few years I never thought that could be a business, but then only after so many people were asking me, that's when I kind of created Impact School, to give it a bit more context for the listeners here.
Makes sense. No, that's super helpful. And one thing I'd like to kind of commend you on is I love your energy and the passion that you speak with. It completely makes sense that you're absolutely committed to what you're doing, and building this business is such a fulfilling experience for you, because the ability for you to both impact the creator and their audience's life is, you can see it firsthand in terms of results too. So I already love that. And I have so many questions to ask you. I'm just going to dive deep into this.
Let's get
You
it.
used this word community while you were speaking, right?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the word community overall. What do you think in today's world, how should a creator be thinking about building a community overall, both a free community and a paid one?
Yeah, so that's actually the first thing I was going to say, is there are really two different types of community. And I think each community requires a different way of thinking about it. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Like at Impact School, we have two totally separate teams. One for the public community of people that haven't yet bought anything from us, and then one for the private community of people who are our clients, right? And so the reason being is because I truly believe that people come for an outcome, but then they stay for community. So those who are on the public side of things, posting on social media, writing to our email list, we always have to be aggravating the pain points that they're going through and giving them small wins that they can help, like that will allow them to achieve what they're trying to work towards, right? Whereas like in the community side, we have to do everything we can to give to retain these customers. But at the same time, on both sides, you need to always be forward thinking, right? So for example, in our marketing, we always have plans as to the 3 months that we're the next 3 months of what we're going to be talking about. And then with our clients, we do the same thing. But with our clients, like we let them publicly see the calendar. Whereas with our audience on social media and our email lists, like we're kind of cycling through pain points, solutions, and then call to actions, so that those people can slowly enter our world. There's two different ways that we look at it, but we really focus on retention. So I would say we're much more of a retention focused business than an acquisition focused business. And when we made that shift, the acquisition of new clients became much easier because of the fact that we literally are focusing on ensuring that every single client brings us 2 referrals within the first 6-month period of being with us. And that's like our primary KPI that we have inside of our company.
Is there a way you've been able to hack how to get those referrals, or you just talk to your customer?
So the one really great hack that we had recently was we sent out a survey to 200 of our top clients. So these clients are paying us tens and tens of thousands a year. And so we asked them various different questions, and then they needed to complete the survey to get a free upgrade that we gave to all of our clients, whereby they would get 1,000. So like we would pay to get them 1,000 new leads per month minimum, basically to ensure that we could double their sales, right? So that was just something that we added. Like we added kind of an agency component to our consulting and our program. But anyway, so we asked them all these questions. And then one question that we asked there was, who are 2 high caliber founders and CEOs that you could refer to Impact School who you feel like would be a great client? So then they just put 2 names on there. There was a few clients that said, oh, I don't know anyone, like none of my friends are founders and CEOs. And that was fair enough. But for the most part, you know, founders and CEOs hang out with founders and CEOs. That usually, like, let's say you have a fitness coaching business, right? Like if you're trying to get fit and healthy, then there are other friends in your network that are also trying to get fit and healthy. Sometimes it just means that you just need to ask.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, sure. The next set of questions I want to ask you is for a creator who's watching this, who's just beginning out, if you could kind of explain a step-by-step process for a creator who's just beginning out, thinking about his or her monetization, what could be a potential step-by-step process they should look at?
So when you're first starting out, and sometimes this question is quite hard for me to answer, because over the last few years, we don't really work with people who are starting out anymore. Okay. So we typically work with people who already have something going on. But let's say they, you know, have a little bit going on, they're making a bit of content or something, but they now want to monetize, right? So let's kind of go with that. The first thing is getting a really good understanding of like, what is the outcome that you want to take people to? For me, when I was in fitness, I didn't understand this concept, and I would hear something like this. Back then, people were really focusing on like, you need to pick a niche, you need to choose your niche, like all like that. Okay. Now, I still hear people say this, but for me, what I found made more sense to me was figure out the outcome that you want to get people to. Now, for me, I wanted to get people fit and healthy, but that wasn't clear enough, right? Because it meant, well, that could mean that someone wants to lose 50 pounds of weight. That means that they need to reverse diabetes. That means that they need to gain muscle because they're super skinny. So there was just too many outcomes. So it really comes to like exactly what is the outcome. So instead of saying all these different fit and healthy things, right? This is just an example, by the way, like take this concept and apply it to your space. So let's move now and say you want to help people get financially free. Okay, what does that mean? What does financial freedom look like? Okay, is it enough so that they can travel the world and live wherever they want in 5-star luxury hotels and pay for them, their partner, and their kids? Is that the outcome, right? What is the outcome? Okay, so get really, really clear on that. Because then when you're clear on that, you can make all the content that you're posting for free about, and I would say, you know, when it comes to like, you know, initial top of the funnel content, like the platforms you're going to be posting on, the best hack, if we want to use that word, that I found is just go where your customer is at. So we spent a lot of time like trying to figure out TikTok, but it was just wasting time for us, honestly, because they were never converting into clients fast. Like our dream client is a more sophisticated founder and CEO, and they're not really scrolling TikTok unless they're looking for content ideas that they then want to take to their team to get created, right? Most of our dream clients are probably outsourcing that, or they have a social media team. Okay. We found that our dream clients are listening to podcasts or typing things in to Google, whereby that's meant that we need to focus on blog and YouTube much more so. So that was just an interesting thing. So like, where are your ideal clients? And then what's the outcome that they're trying to get towards? And make content talking about the problems and the goals that they have.
Did LinkedIn help you? Just before you segue, did LinkedIn help you in terms of identifying this customer base as well?
Actually, no, we pretty much scrapped LinkedIn lately because we found that there's just so much spam on there. So we use LinkedIn more for hiring. So we have an HR manager on our team, and she's like poaching people and spending, you know, we put content on LinkedIn just to make it seem and that people know that it's a good place to work. But and like I personally just copy and paste whatever my team would put onto Facebook into my LinkedIn because it looks good from like a potential employee perspective. But for leads, it's absolute garbage for us. Whereas 2 years ago, it was fantastic. Okay, so you also have to get an understanding of like, if something's not working, kill it. Because you can't do everything, okay?
For sure. Yeah. Please continue. I mean, after you've decided on the outcome and the platform, then what's the next step?
Yeah, so I would say like one short form platform is good, whereby it's like whether it's Twitter or Instagram or TikTok based on your ideal client, and then also one thing which is evergreen, and that's going to be there forever. So maybe it's YouTube or maybe it's a podcast, just one other thing like that, because then you can build an SEO base, which is very, 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 very powerful. Honestly, if I would go back, I would just focus on YouTube. I'd focus on YouTube, and because for the most part, everyone's typing into Google, right? And obviously, you know, all of the AI stuff is coming up, but even still, right, that's in the future as well. But right now, YouTube is great. And then after that, once you know the outcome, it really comes down to just building a product to get people to the outcome. So once you've made content surrounding the outcome, so whether it's problems about the outcome, whether it's 3 ways to whatever faster, all things like this, right? You know, 3 tools to whatever it happens to be, random content like that, you know, then you can go ahead and have a program. And I've always found that the fastest way to monetize and to get real results is doing one round where it's just like a test pilot round. That's what we call it at Impact School. And so it's like, hey, you're messaging people, you know, if you're interested in getting financial freedom so that you can travel the world with your partner and kids, then send me a message saying the word freedom. And I've got something for you, right? And then they send the message, you have a quick conversation, and then you let them know, hey, if they are actually a good fit, hey, it seems like we found each other at the perfect time, because right now I'm looking for a small number of people to work with guaranteed results before I start charging full price for whatever it happens to be. And then you can either close them in the DMs, or you can get on a call, make sure they're really a good fit, and then let's say the price that you're going to be selling it for is 1,000 for this time round, let them in for 500, 700, and then get a few clients through the door, get some cash in, then you validated your offering, and then from there you can obviously put systems around it to scale it, which is another topic.
Right. No, thanks for sharing. I think that puts a lot of clarity in terms of the step-by-step process, from deciding on where the customer is in terms of outcome, and then further leading on to building the product as well. So I'd like to segue into the next topic that you just kind of mentioned, which is systems, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times creators effectively, in order to scale their businesses, they need really robust systems so that with really strong automation so that they don't get stuck around in the day-to-day activities and they can focus on other more creative things with their business that allow them to scale. So what is your recommendation around system selection, especially number one for a creator who is starting out, and secondly, a creator who is scaling as well? So I'd like to see both perspectives.
So I really believe that the reason why so many people don't scale is because they think that they need to figure this stuff out for themselves. So the best thing to do is to hire someone that is pretty much like your opposite. So for me, I'm very creative, I'm very visionary, I know exactly where I want to go, I know how to rally people, I can inspire people, and I can explain things very simply, right? But when it comes to like the nitty-gritty detailed stuff, if I have to do it for more than 5 minutes, I am going crazy. And it's not that I can't do it, like I can, and I can very much
I'm
figure it
very
out. And I
similar
have
that
built,
way.
yeah, I mean, I've built some very complicated workflows with webhooks and zaps and all this crazy stuff. I've done that, right? But I don't want to do that, because if I do that, then I'm staying in this thing and I can't be growing things bigger. And I love to grow things. This is my area. And this is even why in the last couple of years, Impact School shifted away from, the very, very beginning level to people who really are already making, like, at the very least 150K US dollar per year, right? Because we're just better at that. So the best thing that I ever did was bring someone onto my team who's very, very operational and who understands this stuff, where I can say, hey, I want to do this, 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 and this. Like, how can we make it happen? And then she doesn't even tell me how, she just does it. Okay. This is amazing. But if you're in the beginning stages, like, I understand that you can't do that. So you have to be very aware. Am I doing this as a means to an end, or am I getting stuck here? Because for me, I found that I was getting stuck there, because then I would bring someone on and they couldn't do it as good as me. I put that in quotation marks, because actually most of the time they were doing it better than me. It's just I had a way in my head that I thought it should be done based upon how I'd done it before, and then they did it in a totally different way, which was actually more efficient, but it didn't look how I wanted it to look because I had this preconceived false idea of what it should
Mm,
be. And that's because, like, I was trying to make things way too much more complicated than they needed to be, because I am so creative and visionary. Okay. And so I
sure.
thought that was really interesting. So to your point here, like, someone who's starting out, automation tool, like, I honestly think in the beginning, scaling intimacy is your superpower. So in the
Love it.
beginning, doing things that don't actually scale. Reid Hoffman talks about this. He has a podcast episode, like, do the unscalable. And
Yeah.
so what I did is I would just be messaging people, sending them voice memos, sending them selfie videos, like, super personal. And I would also be creating all my content myself. And it was really simple, right? In the beginning, I posted on Instagram, I made content, and then anyone that was liking or commenting, I would then send them a DM and have a conversation. And if I thought they could be a good client for
I love
my
it.
online course, my online program, then I just invited them into it, and I made them feel really, really special in the way that I was positioning my messages to them, because I wasn't spamming. Like, it was super personal. And so that's really how I did it in the beginning. If I could go back, I would have brought in enough revenue to know, because I didn't raise money, right? Like, I started with nothing, like literally just making sales in the DMs. And then from there, then I would have had enough money in my head, like, to know, okay, next 6 months is cool. If I'm paying someone $5,000 a month, I want to have the runway for that, so that if I make no sales in that time, it's all good. And then I would have brought on a really great operational person, and I would have sold them the dream on the fact that we are going big places, and that, you're only
Yeah.
going to get paid 5K per month right now. But, like, let me tell you, this is what's going to happen. We're going to hit millions of dollars, and you're going to get equity. And that's kind
Yeah.
of how I would have positioned it if I could go back.
I love it. I love what you even mentioned, which is scaling the intimacy. That in the beginning, you focus on, I think, building those deeper relationships with every single customer that's kind of coming in, because that
Every,
finally also gets you really strong network effects and gets you to that
yeah.
first, let's say, 1,000 fans concept, or the first 1,000 customers that you're effectively looking on to build your sustainable base. I love it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
I want to share one thing though, because, like, I don't even think you need 1,000 true fans, right? So I was running the numbers, because we have a goal that in 2023. So if someone's listening to this in the future, then, did I achieve it or did I not? I definitely will, right? But our goal in 2023 is 23 million. Okay. And so I was doing a presentation with my team yesterday, and all we need to hit that number is 500 new clients, right? Because then, based upon the referrals and the continuation, of our 500 clients, then that's all we need to hit 23 million. Okay. So 500, if we're only churning 5%, which I know we can do, 95% retention. And that, these 500, that includes new referrals, not even from our marketing. This is what we need to get us to our goal. So the numbers aren't that crazy, honestly. We're selling obviously a higher ticket offering, but that's it. This is only taking into account one product on the front end, 6 months, and then one retention. And that's it. It's very, very simple.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I think there was also, a similar to the 1,000 fans concept. There's something called 100 fans concept also that was being talked about, where you effectively get those 100 customers which have higher ticket value products, and then you get into the funnel, and then you can make money off of it in the creator space. I'd love to know from you, especially because you work with kind of higher ticket clients overall, I'd love to know for you, what's the mindset that's required for a higher ticket client to really scale their businesses from where they're at to where they'd like to go? What's that mindset required for a creator?
In sales letter that we personally send out to people when we're having a conversation with them, we literally write, due to quality control inside the accelerator, Impact School is looking for partners who can deliver life-changing results for clients and who want to serve more people around the world for a premium price. So that's really, really important to us, right? Because if they are like, oh, but I just want to sell a $7 subscription, we're not the best company for them, because we believe that if you have a $7 subscription, that's a really great way to liquidate some of your operational expenses. But if you don't have the back end high ticket offering systematized, and whereby you have a team constantly enrolling people into that, then you're leaving money on the table and you're leaving support for people who want the help. You're leaving that out, right? Because then if you have that pre-built, the high ticket is consistently converting, you have a sales team phoning up the people that buy the low ticket, then you can confidently chuck loads of marketing towards the $7 subscription as an example. And you know that those people who get into the $7 thing, they're not just going to be like, okay, I learned the systems, like now I want more support, I'm ready for it. They're going to just go elsewhere. And wherever they go elsewhere, they may not get what they need, because they might then hire an agency who is all just smoke and mirrors and not really, really good at what they do. And there's a lot of risk there. So we know that we want to work with people who want to really build like a robust ecosystem, starting out with the premium pricing and the premium client experience, whereby it's seamless from the moment that a new prospect enters their world to the moment that they become a client, right? And work with them as a client, because the whole team needs to be aligned in service. Okay, so that's super important to us. If a founder is wanting to like just make a bunch of money and that's it, then they're not going to be a good fit for us. So we really have to distinguish that in our application process. That's why we shifted away from having loads of different programs and such to really, really having our one accelerator, because it's how we can ensure that people who we really want to work with, founders and CEOs that actually want to change lives, are the only ones that are entering our world. And so getting more specific about who we take on as a client has become increasingly important as we've scaled, because our reputation's on the line, right? Like, you need to produce results for clients, otherwise you're not going to last in your industry. So that was one very, very important thing that we added at this stage. And then another thing, like, we just have to ensure that like in the application we are getting them to reveal to us, not by directly asking them like, are you already successful, but by having them explain to us like their current revenue, team size, profit, etc.
Some kind of validation.
Because we've had it, and we get them to submit us bank statements and everything, because we've had people come to us telling us that they're making 40K MRR, and then we actually find out that they're making $12,000 a month, or that was their best month ever.
Sure.
And then on average they're making $9,000 a month. And they're going based upon account receivables and future revenue for programs and like contracted value rather than the money. So we have to look out for that too, because we want to work with honest people. So the mindset has really like, I want to build a really solid company that's not just fully dependent on me. I want to get out of the day-to-day operations and build something that's going to change lives around the world. And I'm gonna do this the right and ethical way.
No, that makes sense. I'd love if you can throw some more light in terms of the accelerator that you have, and if you'd like to talk about it, so that viewers in the audience, if they're particularly intrigued and interested in the same, they can also potentially apply to your accelerator too.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I always knew that when I think about my 10-year vision, right? And I think it's important as a creator, as a founder, CEO, I think it's important to think these things through, because the things that you do today are gonna be what takes you to where you're gonna be in 10 years from now, right? So the way that I see it at the moment is everything I've been doing over the last 7-8 years has really been refining my skill set to be able to scale companies that are in alignment with my values. And so I had to even get clear, what are my values? Okay. And so as I began to think about this, and because I get a lot of deals come to me every single day, every single week saying, hey, invest in this, invest in that. And this tends to happen when doing a lot on social media, like pretty, like, out there with
You're
regards
out
to
there.
everything
Yeah,
you're doing.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get people coming to me with deals. And so a lot of the time I have to really, really put this against my values. And in the past, I would have invested in deals whereby I just think it's going to make me a lot of money. But then I got clear in the fact that I want to build a company of companies that truly makes a positive impact in the world. And so then I had to actually define what is positive impact. Because in the past, I would have thought it would have been this, and that. And then I really thought about it. And for me, it's all about health and education. So for other people, they might define positive impact as like climate and green and whatever. But for me, it is all about health and education. And I thought that was interesting. So I then had this deal, I'll just give you an example, come to me, which was like some crypto gaming company, guaranteed 10x returns. Like it was literally, the deal had
Guaranteed the
already
next
been
returns.
bought by private equity. They just needed
Sure.
money to, like, it was
Got
actually
it.
guaranteed. And so I realized in that moment, like, how am I going to look back on myself if I invest in this deal? So I spoke to a few people, some very, very well-known investors. And they said to me, well, the way that I would look at it is I would put in the money, I would get the 10x returns, and I'd put that 10x money into deals that do align with my value. But then I realized, like, I don't want to be shortcutting things like this. I want to stay moral and ethical, truly based upon the values that I have and the vision that I have for my life. So I said no to the deal. And I felt so good about that. And I said, like, okay, even in this moment, I tested my ethics and I realized like that's more powerful than anything else. And that's what's going to get me through. So that's why now we became so selective at Impact School who we take on as a client. Because if we feel like they aren't in alignment with our values, it's just not worth it for us, right? And that took me a long time to learn. So really, we are all about finding founders, finding CEOs that have training companies, that have e-learning companies, that have agencies, that are having a consulting company, a coaching business, that we feel they have the groundwork down. They're really, really good at what they do. But as the founder and CEO, like, they are stuck, if no one is taking sales calls, or if no one is going to meetings, then no more sales are coming in. Or if no one's posting on social media, if no one's sending emails, if no one's doing all the marketing automations, no new leads coming. And then if, for example, like, they have to do the coaching calls, they have to film all the course content, like, if that's where they're at and they just don't feel like they can scale because they're kind of feeling stuck, that's also the type of person that we want to work with, because they have something there, but they are just too stuck in the operations. And so that's where they need to build the systems and the team to come in to truly get them out of that, so they can actually finally turn their vision into a reality. And so we shifted in away from being sort of just consulting to really doing a lot of the work for people, whereby if they don't have enough leads to double their sales without them needing to do everything, we get those leads for them. We go out there, we run the campaigns so that they have quality leads in their world. That's just one example. So yeah, I'm seeing a shift in the industry in going into more doing more for your clients, and I think it's for good.
No, I think it's a trend across platforms, even the kind of platforms that we run. It's always the Pareto principle, where the top 20% will make 80% of the revenue. So most of the focus is starting to shift for all such platforms towards the top 20%, because it's, again, in terms of function of time and the input that you're putting in, it completely makes a difference in terms of the output that you can make from a particular customer as well. No, thanks for sharing that, Lauren. I think this has been an exciting conversation overall, and thanks for sharing all the secrets and insights. A couple of last things that I want to ask you. One, you just told me before the podcast that this is your 11th country this year. So how's it been like managing travel plus, and this is more of a personal question, and other creators who would effectively want to become travel nomads, because it's a popular kind of trend that's picking up. How do you kind of balance both of that, and what's the right way to do it?
So I'm super grateful to be in a position whereby much of the day-to-day stuff, like, I couldn't tell you what's going on, but I built that intentionally because this is the life that I want to live, right? I don't believe that it makes sense to have a business if everything is dependent on you and you can't go and do what you want. And that was something whereby for the longest time, I always thought, oh, well, I should wait until I go there because I need to do this first and all like that. Whereas now I believe in an integration and a harmony of everything working together. For example, the day-to-day stuff that goes on, like I will dictate still, I love to do this. It's something that I enjoy, the marketing direction in which we're going on, right? So I have these ideas for these campaigns and these things that should get done. And so I write a brief for my head of marketing as to like what I want to happen, right? And so then we'll discuss it and we'll go through it. They'll iron out some things that might operationally not work, for example, that I otherwise wouldn't know because I'm just not involved in operations. And then from there, then we ensure that, okay, all of that copy gets written, all of the social media plans get done. I'm not involved with the social media stuff. I'll write like generic copy, which then they take and apply. And then they might change some things, but they'll kind of take the, like, because I know the best messaging, okay, and the best way of sharing, because I can connect so well with our ideal client, because that was me just a few years ago. And so
Yeah.
when it comes down to how I'm able to travel, it really is having the right team around me. If I didn't have the right team around me, then it wouldn't be easy. Like there was a period of time about a year and a half ago where I brought on some of the wrong people. We rushed to hire people because we were in desperate need of them. We should have hired them 6 months earlier. And then we hired some people that just didn't align with our values. And it was just constant stress, constant putting out fires. I was away and traveling and I just didn't even get to do anything, right? And that's just sometimes how it is if you don't have the right team around you. On top of that, I always look at life like most people in the world, they work for, I don't know, 48 weeks of the year. And then they have 4 weeks off, as an example. And in those 4 weeks, they are on vacation. Okay. So I think about people that I went to school with. They work in finance in London, they do their work, and then when they go to Italy for the vacation, they are off, they're doing nothing. Whereas for me, I don't think about it like 100% here, and then that 100% turns to 0% when you go 100% on the holiday, right? The way that I think about it is like everything. When I'm traveling, I'm happy to have 80% of the experience that other people would have, because that 80% stays every single day of the year. So I optimize for the best possible experience given the company that I own, the asset that I have. And I also optimize for the fact that like I love to travel and meet other like-minded people. So I'm okay if I'm not having like a 100% most crazy travel experience where every single day, like I'm in Oman right now, I'm in Muscat, I'm not fussed right now that I'm here on this call and not in the Grand Mosque or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's totally cool with me, because for me this is amazing. Like this is keeping me mentally invigorated, and we're going to get to serve loads of people through sharing 100%. This. And it was a big mindset reframe for me, because I used to be such that all or nothing person, right? Whereas now it's like I just want everything to work harmoniously. And if I feel, oh my gosh, I just spent 12 hours on calls today and I didn't do anything, I even forgot to eat lunch, that's not good. That's not what I want. And so then I have to look, and I'm so thankful I have an amazing executive assistant, but she will then look at my calendar and like, why am I doing all this stuff, and be like, Lauren, like you shouldn't be doing this, I can take care of that, right? And so that was also a big change for me. That was such an amazing investment in my own personal happiness and energy protection. So a bit of a long answer, but I hope that helps.
No, for sure. I think that definitely helps. And I think that also puts perspective in terms of how someone should think about becoming a digital nomad, and in terms of both balancing work and having 80% of the experience that usually someone would get for the 4 weeks that they're kind of going into. The final question I have for you, and this is one of the questions I like a lot, is what's one unique insight that you've had over the past few years that's really allowed you to propel the business to where it is today?
I truly believe that you cannot tell someone what the aha moment is. They have to experience the aha moment for themselves. So for the longest time, people would say to me, Lauren, you just need to focus, eliminate everything, just focus on that one business, that one project at any one time. And I just thought, well, that's okay for everyone else, but I can do more. I've got a great team. Like I can do this, I can do that. But only when I tried to really do a lot of things at once did I realize how I was totally shooting myself in the foot. So I had this experience, this whole catastrophe. I outsourced some stuff, and it was just a disaster. They stole my whole email list. They were taking some sales calls and they didn't track any of the things, and we knew nothing what was going. It was a disaster. Lawyers were involved. It was across different jurisdictions. Like it cost me at least 6 months.
Oh, damn.
Of the year. Okay, it was really bad. After that, I really looked at like everything I was doing, and I realized like there was some subconscious self-sabotage there. That I was always taking on these projects, I guess because like deep inside, I just didn't think that I was a capable leader. And I always had this big insecurity that I'm just not good at leading other people, and that it would just be way easier if I was just to do this all on my own. And so I realized like I was constantly going off doing these other projects like without telling my team, or rushing into things, taking all these calls, all these meetings, all these ideas, like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that, da, da, da. And I'd start planning things without telling my team. And then after I stopped doing that, honestly, that's when everything just totally took off for me. But it was so hard because I think as a visionary person, as a creator, you have all these ideas, right? You have all these amazing insights and these things that you want to do in the world, but you can do everything you want, just not all at once. And then that's probably the biggest thing that has just changed my world and allowed me to make a bigger impact and really, really scale my company while actually enjoying every single day.
I love that. No, that's very powerful. No, thanks for sharing that, Lauren. It also gives me a lot of insight as well from my own self and the way I lead as a leader, for sure. But thanks for sharing all of the insights, all your stories, your anecdotes around Impact School, around your own creator journey, and the different perspectives that you had. It was a pleasure hosting you here on the Mango Talk. Do you have any last words to share with the audience?
No, thank you so much for having me. We have a podcast called Impact School. So if you guys are listening to podcasts, then maybe that will help anyone that's looking to scale to the next level. But hey, when I'm visiting India, I'll let you know. We can do some fun stuff.
Sounds good. You're our guest in India. There is a term called Atithi Devo Bhava, that the guest is God in India. So when you come to India,
okay,
we'll take care of you. You tell us which all cities you'd like to visit, and it'll be taken care of. And I'll tell you places to eat, places to visit, everything for sure.
I'm here for it.
Sounds good. All right.
Down.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Lauren. I'm excited to have you on the podcast, and thanks so much for the conversation as well.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.